Jose Ramon Larraz was born in 1929 in Barcelona, Spain. He was a director and writer known for Symptom, Whirlpool and La Muerte Incierta. He died on September 3, 2030 in Andalusia, Spain. Viaggio Celebrity Present Top Jose Ramon Larraz Films. Number 17. Deadly Manor, 1990. A group of teenagers take refuge in an old deserted mansion. Soon the members of the group start turning up dead, and the teenagers realize that they are not alone in the mansion. Toward the end of the film, when one of the characters encounters Amanda in the bedroom, it is dark outside. As the character runs out seconds later and into the arms of Albert downstairs, it is now daylight. Number 16. Age of the X, 1988. An ex-murderer terrorized a small Northern California mountain community, while two young computer-obsessed adults attempt to solve the killings. Set in a remote, tranquil town called Paddock Country, Age of the X tells the tale of a violent masked murderer that begins hacking his way through the hapless townsfolk one by one with a large hatchet. The police are left with no clues whatsoever and at first try to keep the brutal slaying under wraps. Number 15. Rest in Pieces, 1987. A nightmare of unrelenting terror is in store for a beautiful young woman when she inherits an eerie Spanish estate from her eccentric aunt. But is Aunt Catherine really dead? And who are the creepy neighbors? As Helen and her boyfriend Bob explore the mansion, macabre and horrifying things happen. Old cars start on their own, strange music is heard, and the servants perform a grisly human sacrifice on unsuspecting string quartet. And all through this terrifying ordeal, the image of Aunt Catherine keeps haunting Helen. Is she going crazy? Does her boyfriend have something to do with this insanity? Number 14. Juana la Loca de Vez en Cuando, 1983. The Catholic monarch cares about Torquemada's obsession to prosecute everyone. Cisneros presents senile amnesia. Infanta Isabel has become Republican and Juana is in love. A comic and sui generis vision of the cult of the Catholic monarch. In this ridiculous tale, there are anachronisms, goofs, abstract incident, musical numbers, song and amusement. The parody is continuous, hilarious, surrealist, absurd and sometimes gross out, but in some moments here and there is also bold and risible. Number 13. Black Candles, 1982. A young woman travels to England after the abrupt death of her brother. Staying with her sister-in-law, she finds her companion soon drawn into a satanic cult based in the house, whose rites seem to center on large-scale love conquest. The plotting is pretty weak and the characters are pretty dumb. The woman sticks around even after her husband starts turning into a jug, and hanging out with the pagans even continue to have love with him. On the exploitative side of the things, there is much bad plays and a couple of kinky couplings, but nothing that hasn't been better somewhere else. Number 12. Madame Olga's Pupils, 1981. Madame Olga, played by Helga Lyon, is the owner of a luxurious brothel in London, England. One of the brothel's new clients, a young man, falls in love with her. He wishes to have more than love relationship with the woman. The virtually non-existent plot revolves around a brothel disguised as a music academy for young girls run by Madame Olga. After one of her girls accidentally dies in the company of a powerful client, Madame Olga is forced to hire a young man who witnesses the two of them together. The young man samples the West, becomes a procurer, and falls in love with one of the girls who is technically a virgin. Number 11. Stigma, 1980. The death of Sebastian's father engenders in him pathological fears and hallucinations. His death wishes seem to cause horrible accident which he is unable to control. When his older brother dies, he feels that he has caused it. He undergoes hypnosis, but his apparent supernatural power continues. As his own life nears its end, he becomes even more violent and sadistic. These horror as well as semi-exploitation movies deal with a young named Sebastian who kills unintentionally. A real chiller in which the involuntary death of Sebastian's father engenders in him telekinetic talent. Number 10. La Occasion, 1978. Couple Pablo and Anna return to their beachfront home only to find it trashed after having been broken into. Pablo immediately suspects a group of young hippies that have been staying at the farm next door and is determined to get rid of them, while Anna, who isn't exactly thrilled with the group, also doesn't approve of Pablo's overly antagonistic attitude. Pablo eventually reports them to the police in hopes of finally being rid of them for good. That is until the leader of the group decides to pay him and Anna a visit. This is not Larraz's best film, nor his worst. It just kind of exists. Actors are serviceable. Angel Alcazar is the main hippie guy, brings an intense love appeal that reminded us of Joe D'Alessandro with a little bit more range. Number 9. The Coming of Sin, 1978. Lorna is a beautiful widow living all alone at her country chateau, with only her books and painting for company. Then one day, Triana, a wild gypsy girl who has been raised in an orphanage, is brought her home by her friend Sally and her husband. She asks her to take care of her while they are away. She takes the girl under her wing and sensuous relationship develop between them. Soon the pair are lovers. But Triana has a dark secret that manifests itself in frightening dreams of domination and humiliation. She has recurring nightmares of a naked man on horseback assaulting and abusing her. At the same time, the naked horseman begins to appear in reality. The girl, convinced that he represents her doom, resists him, but the artist is intrigued and a bizarre erotic triangle is established. Number 8. Luto Rigorso, 1977. After the death of his father, Piedad directs her family life by virtue of tradition and moral value in a small town in the province. In a family where personal secrets hold them together, Larraz returns to his chilly countryside backdrop to touch on the recurring theme of abuse taking place in the outdoor when Lolly is attempting to return from her secret escapade, which Larraz breaks with close-up on Lolly's face and bruised legs. That brings out a new level of compassionate family support in elegant dissolve over Piedad. Number 7. Vampyres, 1974. Two mysterious women lure various passerby to their rural mansion in the English countryside and hold them captive in order to feed on them to satisfy their insatiable thirst for blood. Jose Ramon Larraz Vampire is easily one of the best horror movies ever made. This is surely a cult classic and should be treated with respect. A pair of vampires played by Marian Morris and Anulka live in an abandoned castle. Both stunning beauties lure passing motorists to their lair. Vampire is a very remarkable horror film that perfectly mixes creepy atmosphere with delicious sleaze. Number 6. Symptom, 1974. A young woman is invited by her girlfriend who lives in an English country mansion to stay there with her. The estate, however, isn't quite what it seems, and neither is the friend who issued the invitation. Symptom follow a paper-thin plotline that detail a woman who invite a girlfriend to her remote mansion for the weekend. But her true motive come into focus as something far more sinister than imagined. Originally screened at the Cannes Film Festival, Symptom inexplicably became a lost film in the ensuing years, until being unearthed and re-released on Blu-ray for the 21st century. Number 5. Emma Putta's Oscaras 1974. An obscure horror flick. Emma is a teenager when she is the victim of a terrible road accident in London. Her brain suffers some alteration and she needs even psychiatric cares. Her mother Sylvia confines her in the house and the personality of Emma becomes very aggressive, causing a regrettable series of assassins and violence. The usual sleazy romance is also missing, and so much of this is set in a dark, deserted hotel with much creeping and chasing amidst the shadow. This didn't engage us from start to finish, and although there are decent places, it is a rather dull affair. Number 4. The House That Vanished 1973. A beginner fashion model Valerie, in search of adventure, agreed to accompany Terry, her boyfriend, on his expedition to some empty mansion, hoping to make some money there. Suddenly the girl discovers that they are not alone in the house, but the owners are not going to notice the uninvited guest while making love passionately. That's just ending the crisis that a man brutally kills his partner. In horror, she runs out of the house, losing a thief friend on the way. When the fear passes the next morning, she decides to return to the place of the strange incident. But there was no mention there. But her search leads to an acquaintance with Paul, a mysterious young man, passionate about classical music and the secular manner of the last century. Number 3. Deviation 1971. While a young couple, Olivia and Paul, drives through the countryside along a deserted road, a ghostly white figure runs out in front of their car, causing it to crash. They are picked up by the gruesome twosome, Julian and his sister Rebecca, who invite them to spend the night in their country house. Julian is a taxidermist working on private orders. Rebecca helps him, and in his free time he does occultism and esotericism. Paul is immediately suspicious of their motives, and he is woken during the night by screaming coming from elsewhere in the house. As he investigates, he finds a gibbering woman and then spots a group of people carrying the body of the person he hit with his car. Number 2. Whirlpool 1970. A blonde fashion model, Tulia, is lured to an isolated country estate by a creepy older woman, Sarah. There she meets Theo, orphan and homeless boy who has given a home by Sarah. They call each other as aunt and nephew. He is photography obsessed and even creepier than Sarah. Tulia doesn't seem too perturbed to learn a previous female model, Rhonda, that went there, has disappeared without a trace. Nor does she find it strange that her first night there they get her drunk and engage her in a perverse game of strip poker. She almost has love with the boy while the old woman secretly watches, but he isn't able to rise to the occasion. The next day he takes her into town and pays a friend to rip her clothes off and nearly rape her while he takes pictures. This doesn't seem to bother her either, because soon she's involved in another three-way romantic photography session with them. Number 1. El Periscopio 1979. Veronica and her friend are two beautiful nurses who live upstairs from a rather boring couple and their teenage son. In a science class at school, he learns how to build a periscope and uses it to spy on the nurse's antic. Meanwhile, Albert's mother is being even naughtier than her precious boy, sneaking off for some extramarital love while her hair-obsessed husband is at the salon, having his follicles tended to. This all gets to be too much for the young lad, as he soon starts to suffer from unexplained pain in the groin area. It all comes to head when the parent of the boy asks the nurses to come and check him out, and Laura proceeds to realize what the problem is, so she promptly wanks the boy off in front of his parents.